Hello everyone, this is the Sibling Politics. So today we are going to talk about it looks like a rectangle.
It's supposed to be a triangle.
Triangle.
It's all the checks and balances. Do you know what checks and balances are?
They're like payments, I guess?
No, different checks and balances. That's banking checks and balances. This checks and balances is the checks and balances between the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branch. If you want to learn more about those, click to one of our videos that we have linked to those. The legislative branch, as we covered in brief, was the people that make the laws, right? The executive is the one that enforces the laws, and the judicial is the one that interprets the laws. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you know that there's checks and balances to each, so that way no branch has absolute power?
No.
Okay, well, here's some of the checks and balances right here. The first check that the legislative branch has is to the judicial and to the executive. Okay? So the legislative branch passes a bill, okay? And that goes before the president once it gets through all the stuff that has to go through in both the House and the Senate. Okay, it goes to the president. Now the president can veto the bill, okay? That means that he doesn't touch it, it goes away, right?
Yes.
But the legislative branch has the ability with a 2/3 majority, so that means a lot of members in the House and 2/3 majority in the Senate, can override the veto. So that's a check on the president. So that way he can't just veto bills constantly.
Wow.
Another check to the legislative branch is that they vote for who becomes who sits on the judicial branch.
Mm.
Okay. So there's 9 judges on the judicial branch. Okay. And they vote for him. Okay. Now the checks and balances of the executive, or the president, is different. His check on the legislative is that he can veto a bill. So like if it's something he doesn't like, okay, he can veto it. And getting a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate is harder than you think. So, him vetoing a bill, basically, it's pretty set in stone. He keeps track of the judicial branch because he can appoint the judges. So he can appoint them, but the legislative has to vote for him. So like he can bring up the ideas,
Wow.
Like he'll bring up, like, let's say John Smith is, somebody he wants to bring up. Well, then he has to talk to all the legislative people, and then they'll vote for either him becoming part of the judicial branch or not. Now, the judicial branch's checks and balances are considerably different. They check the law that the legislative branch makes and the actions of the executive branch and judge whether those are constitutional. Okay?
Yes.
So that way they're making sure everything's constitutional. And, this system is completely different than any other system on earth. There's no other system that has 3 branches like that have checks and balances. Because the Founding Fathers, when they made the government, saw how easy it was for either the House of Commons or the House of Lords to change stuff in England. So they devised this so that way each branch has a check and balance.
Wow.
And that is all on checks and balances today. Like and subscribe.